She joins us now in the 11 Live Plus streaming studio here. Cheryl, I know that you have been following this really closely. It's impacting travelers, it's impacting people here. As those TSA workers were working without pay, now it appears they're starting to get some paychecks coming in. But Tyler Perry, of all people, got involved while the shutdown and the lack of pay was still really in the heart of it. And he tried to help out.
Tried to help, yeah. This has been a roller coaster of, 6 weeks, but really the last couple of days. You know, I've been on the phone with sources inside the airport and inside TSA throughout the entire partial government shutdown. And we were hearing stories about so many workers who were facing eviction, could not feed themselves or their families. I mean, really, really struggling because they were not getting paid. So when you heard about people calling out, a lot of it was to take a day to try to work another job, maybe Uber Eats or deliveries of some sort. So that was part of what happened. So when Tyler Perry shows up at the airport with a significant amount of cash with the intention of handing it out to TSA workers. He was saying, thank you, appreciate you working without pay. Thanks for trying to keep the airport going. I appreciate you taking pictures with people. It was a huge boost to morale. One person inside the airport said he was like the hero of the TSA. He said, we hadn't had a good morale day in as long as we could remember. But then when Tyler Perry was at the airport, he finds out that it's against the rules to give cash because of security reasons. Obviously, the idea being if you can hand money to a TSA agent, maybe something could slide through security. So it makes sense that those rules are in place. So I was able to confirm that his team then followed up, went through the proper channels, they thought, through TSA, through HR, through legal, to find out what would be a way they could help. And so that's why his representatives went back the following day with these gift cards, which again was a big boost to morale. 24 hours later, I start getting calls and texts from people inside the airport saying they're telling us we got to give these gift card back. And so it was like this roller coaster of emotion. Now, the gift cards, our sources say were substantial, $1,000. I mean, but people have lost thousands of dollars in pay over the course of 6 weeks. But it was the gesture and the roller coaster that I think was a little bit of maybe a salt in the wound or insult to injury.
A little bit of whiplash, too. And this all was taking place towards the latter half of last week, correct?
Yeah, so we're talking about Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
And if I have you right here, these TSA workers who have been working for many weeks now without pay since the middle of February is when that partial government shutdown impacting TSA pay kicked off. They're working without pay. It's tough. The lines are long. It's a stressful environment.
Yeah.
Tyler Perry rolls in. He says, hey, I'm going to help out as best I can. People are understandably excited.
Yeah.
The next day, find out you can't do that. His team tries to remedy the situation, find a different way to do it. You're dealing with federal regulations. This is complicated. TSA workers, I'm sure, excited again, and then that gets pulled back too.
Yeah.
That's a lot to go through.
It's a lot, and I think a lot of people, the comments online are like, why? What's going on? Why can't we help them? We know this is, an exceptional time and they need the help, and some, rules might be rules. But here's the thing that's really interesting, Zach. There are airports across the country where they have not only been allowed to take gift cards, but there had been like gift card drives to specifically help alleviate some of the pressure and stress of TSA workers. So we know of Denver, Raleigh, Durham, Charlotte, just to name a couple. So I think that added to the confusion. Why were some TSA workers allowed to get gift cards and it was okay under these circumstances, the partial government shutdown, but these from Tyler Perry were basically being recalled, and we don't know. Some of it may be the timing of the president's executive order. Once that was signed and the reimbursements for back pay were in the works, was that the reason for the timing? Regardless, I think there's still a question of, hey, these are workers that not only this time around, but a few months ago they went through the same thing. So they've really been through the ringer in the last 6 or 7 months, having to work extended periods of time without pay in tough environments. Tough for the travelers who are sometimes waiting 4 or 5 hours, missing flights, lines out the door, but also for those TSA workers who are showing up to work and having to deal with all of these things happening simultaneously.
You use the word confusion. I think that is a word that has been getting a lot of mileage lately in this ongoing conversation. You pointed out as well, the president has signed this executive order. calling on the Department of Homeland Security to effectively move some money around and start paying these TSA officers.
Yeah.
That money, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, is starting to go out now.
Yeah.
TSA workers are starting to see back pay hit their accounts.
Yeah.
But the partial shutdown still continues.
Yeah.
TSA and the entirety of the Department of Homeland Security, in one way or another, still doesn't have an active funding bill. The immigration enforcement components of DHS, so Customs and Border Patrol and ICE, they've got a substantial amount of money from the big, beautiful bill passed last summer. But everything else is still under this unfunded situation.
And my sources tell me all of that just remains unsettling, because the question is, when does the shoe drop again? I think that's what a lot of TSA workers are thinking. So this executive order is a stopgap for now. Now, the sources I've talked to 3 different people in the last couple of hours, all of whom say there is some money in the account, not for the full period of time that they've been working without pay.
Which would be almost 6 weeks at this point?
6+ weeks, you know. But for at least 2 of the pay periods. So there is some money there, but it's not in full. And talk about confusion. They were asking me, did I know if the executive order means that it was just for the back pay up until this day, or is it for them to get paid moving forward? So these are workers that still have these questions about whether they're going to get paid just for what they've already worked up till this point, or if they'll get paid moving forward. So we did pull up the actual verbiage of the executive order. And from what we can tell, I need your legal mind to look at this. I looked at it, now we need a lawyer to look at it. It looks like it will also pay them moving forward. But I think this maybe speaks to, 1, like you said, the confusion, and 2, the uncertainty that continues to kind of weigh heavy on top of the circumstances for a lot of the workers who are in Atlanta, who are already working at a shorter staff than a smaller staff than they did even a year ago, like so many businesses around the country. Remember Doge?
Sure.
You know, so there has been consolidation in the federal workforce, including in TSA. So along with this funding issue, there was also a smaller staff to start with. So there's just a lot of layers to this story. And I think for a lot of people, the Tyler Perry gift card was just that one thing that made people put their hands up and be like, I don't get it. This is the last kind of straw.
We are short on time here, Cheryl. I want to ask you this last question before we go, because you've been in Atlanta, you've covered Atlanta and everything going on here. Certainly plenty of stories coming out of the airport. To see not 1, but 2 shutdowns, I don't want to say back-to-back, but almost back-to-back, just within a matter of months, and then see those lines at a time stretched out of the concourse. Had you seen pictures like that coming out of the airport before?
No, not even. I field anchored the morning that there was a power outage. Remember that because of the problems in the tunnel under the airport. And that's as close as I had ever seen to the kind of backups that we saw, but it was still less in terms of volume, and it was a finite period of time because of a fire that no one could control. So this day after day building of lines and people and uncertainty and this kind of looming question mark for travelers and workers is unlike I've ever seen at the airport by far.
At the world's busiest airport,
Yeah.
no less, just to compound the numerous factors that make this a really challenging situation.
Before I go, can I just say that some of
Please.
my sources said, hey, no matter the roller coaster with Tyler Perry, they wanted to say how much it meant that someone would just show up and make that effort. That it's still been much more of a positive thing than any kind of dramatic thing. And they just said, we just appreciate that we were seen and heard. That's how they felt.
They are working hard, juggling a whole lot, those TSA officers, and it is a complicated story. It's got a lot of layers to it, Cheryl. We know you're going to stay on top of this. We're going to try to track it all right alongside you. Cheryl, as always, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.